Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, Charles Morris. Today, in this video, we'll be talking more about this Mary Piglet situation. Now, I've been watching this uploaded video, and it was the, Instagram uploader, and she shared her experience on what happened at Mary Piglets. Now, I want to start off by saying this. If you, like, when you sit down at a restaurant, restaurants are supposed to be a place, talk and chill, and if you got, like, any sort of problems, um, um, it's a place to be talking and working the problems out, like using communication, that stuff, and it's also a place to relax. Now, apparently, the whole thing that happened with Gabby Petito at Mary Piglets wasn't handled in a very calm manner. Brian Laundrie, as you know, is a total narcissist. So he has his own ways of taking care of his own problems. That is, not using communication, but, yelling at people to get his own way, to be exact on that. Anyway, the Instagrammer who posted this said that she was out there at her first day in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and she said that she sat down at Mary Piglets, and she was at the table almost like less than a foot away from Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie's table. And Brian Laundrie is out there, and for at least like an hour or less, maybe even more, starts yelling at Gabby Petito, and she begins to Brian Laundrie starts yelling at Gabby Petito, and Gabby Petito is now actually crying right inside of Mary Piglets. And the Instagrammer who shared her reaction to this, she said that Brian Laundrie had left the restaurant at least 4 different times and on 4 different occasions, I would imagine. based on her personal experience on what she said. And I don't know if it was to calm Gabby Petito or if he was trying to, try to, build up more time to actually, more energy to, like, fight with the manager and the hostess and the waitress. Eventually, that's what happened at some point. Now, I don't know when he actually walked back into the restaurant and started to fight with them, but I can imagine one of those stops, he did end up fighting with the hostess and the waitress, and eventually it got to the point where he was fighting with the manager. And this Instagrammer who shared her reaction on what happened there at Mary Piglets, I gotta say, it was a pretty rough day for her. Eventually, the waitress or the hostess or whoever asked Gabby Petito to actually leave the restaurant along with Brian Laundrie. And Brian Laundrie, well, obeyed what the waitress or the hostess or the manager told him to do and leave the restaurant with Gabby Petito. And the final stop, Gabby Petito came out of being out there in the street, apologized for Brian Laundrie's behavior. And I can imagine Brian Laundrie still kept being on that rage, as he always, like, held on to that rage. And eventually, he loses his temper. And like I mentioned in almost the last video, or how I mentioned he's a narcissist. One of the videos I talk about him being a narcissist. But I probably never mentioned that narcissists like to hold on to the rage that they feel and eventually, take it out on their victim. Most of the time, that's what happens. Like, narcissists are people that are, like, so messed up to the head where they aren't normal people. That being a narcissist, if you're a narcissist, normally that means you wouldn't do stuff that normal people would do. Like, talk about their problems. And, instead, just attack. Because they feel like you're out there to get them. Now, being that Brian Laundrie is a narcissist and fooled police over there in that body cam video and let him go off the hook along with Gabby Petito when Brian Laundrie was reported to be slapping Gabby Petito. And Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie get off scot-free by the cops, instead are told to separate. And Brian Laundrie should not be congratulated for fooling the police. He should have obviously been taken to jail along with Gabby Petito if they were going to start having a domestic violence fight. But I don't think Gabby Petito actually meant to actually hit people. I think she was just, completely annoyed with how Brian Laundrie was. But Brian Laundrie, on the other hand, slapped Gabby Petito because, well, that's how narcissists handle their problems. They don't really want to use communication to handle their problems. Instead, would actually use like some form of domestic violence to actually think it would solve their problems. The Gabby Petito admitted she slapped him first to police, and then Brian Laundrie was acting like that he had no problem with Gabby Petito whatsoever, and that she was the only one that had problems and not him. It was more of like Brian Laundrie was trying to, make himself look less suspicious than what was on that 911 call that happened, that came out of a flower shop called Moonflower. So over there in Mary Piglets, what happened was when they walk out of the restaurant, okay, when they start walking out of that restaurant, they probably paid the bill up front at the table, or at least paid the bill out on the street, according to this News Nation reporter. And what the News Nation reporter said, that he went into where the Mary Piglets restaurant was and spoke with the manager, and the manager said that, look, what you heard about what has happened over here isn't exactly what happened. That there was no yelling, there was no screaming, there was no... Now, everything was handled in, like, a calm manner. And, like, Brian Laundrie was very calm about the whole situation. And obviously, that's a lie right there. Okay? Some people can, witness things and then, make up lies about, okay, this isn't what happened. Okay, no. What the media is trying to cover on this case and stuff is just all a lie. It's just all made up, that stuff. That's what she claims it as. But no, it's actually what happened. The Instagrammer shared her experience on what she experienced there at the Mary Piglets. And she knew that Brian Laundrie was not a normal person. And she knew something wasn't right with this guy. And she looked at her boyfriend to get her boyfriend's attention. And I don't even know what happened after that. But eventually they walk out of the restaurant, and Gabby Petito is feeling pretty upset about what has happened in there. But Brian Laundrie, I'd imagine, as a narcissist like he is, would held onto that rage and eventually probably thought of a plan to actually murder Gabby Petito out there in Grand Teton National Park and leave her body out there in the field across from a few creeks where the van was parked, and actually left her body out there, thinking that that law enforcement wouldn't even find the body of Gabby Petito and think he would be able to get off scot-free. And in the end, y'all know the story. What happened was Brian Laundrie gone out there, and what police believe to be out there at the Carlton Reserve, Brian Laundrie possibly gone out there and committed suicide so that he wouldn't have to answer for anything. If he murdered Gabby Petito and he committed suicide, that may give you one clue thinking that Brian Laundrie probably knew he was going to get the death penalty if he was convicted of killing Gabby Petito. And that's why he probably gone out there and committed suicide. I looked everywhere to find out how Brian Laundrie died. The police say that it was a suicide, but we don't know why he actually gone out there. But probably because he was going to be committed or convicted of killing Gabby Petito and strangling her to death. And that was probably what scared Brian Laundrie the most and couldn't handle that, so he went out there and committed suicide. The anthropologist, I haven't heard any reports on what they found out of Brian Laundrie's bones, but I can probably tell you he was under a lot of stress and held on to so much of that rage that he gone out there to kill himself. That's probably what had happened. And the reason for the cause of death may have been because he held on to so much of that rage that he just couldn't even take it anymore and just decided to go out there in the Carlton Reserve, in the Florida Natural Reserve, and kill himself and leave his body underwater, that had eventually the area that's been underground, the water disappeared from there. And Brian Laundrie was probably under that water, where that body of water had gone away, and had everybody be able to gain more access to more of the park. And police authorities found his body lying over there that was once covered up in water at the Carlton Reserve. And he was announced dead. And the internet police reports say that it was a suicide. So that's why he's probably gone out there to kill himself, because he knew he was probably going to get the death penalty. And what's next? Brian Laundrie can't answer for why he killed Gabby Petito, if he did. And it's like, now it's going to be difficult to get answers on who killed Gabby Petito and why did Brian Laundrie kill himself. That maybe it's because he knew he was going to get the death sentence of strangling Gabby Petito. That might end up being in the reports, but I cannot say for sure. I can't make a promise that this is going to be in police reports. It's just a might. There's no promise in what I'm saying in this video. But it's my guess on what had happened with Brian Laundrie after they left Mary Piglets. And Brian Laundrie may have strangled Gabby Petito, and he may have gone out there to commit suicide so he wouldn't be found guilty and get the death penalty for strangling Gabby Petito. That may have been what happened, We don't know for sure, but this could have happened that way. Hopefully that would help clear up some of this story here. We'll have to. We need to wait for police reports to actually say what did happen. This is a might have been what happened with the whole Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie case. But it's no. It's no. It's no confirmation this is what happened. Anyway, guys, hopefully this video helped clear some of that up. And as always, or I said I've ended this with my last video, be careful on who you're dating. Be careful of who you take your trip with. And you want to make sure that the person isn't a narcissist that you're dating. Because you don't know what could end up happening to you. They could, out of nowhere, decide to just murder you because they just can't take all that rage that they're feeling on being on the cross-country trip with you. You would want to make sure you're dating somebody that would never hurt you in any form. If you take a trip with that person and you know they would do nothing to hurt you, then you're better off at going on road trips, faraway road trips, with somebody that you know isn't going to hurt you physically. And you'll have a better time. And most importantly, keep yourself out of domestic violence situations. This Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie case is now going to be a lesson to us all. And a lot of people out there need to make a better decision on who you're dating. You need to stay away from narcissistic people like Brian Laundrie or anybody else out there that's a narcissist as well. Be careful on who you date. You don't know their background, and you need to do a better job. If you want to prevent your life from being taken by somebody that's a narcissist, don't date them. That's something you need to practice extreme caution on. And eventually, when you don't date a narcissist and you hear about a narcissist getting into serious trouble and that stuff, you can say, I'm glad I'm not with that psychopath. And then you'll be better off when you take a faraway road trip with somebody that is not a narcissist, and you're dating that person, and they would do nothing to hurt you in any way. And then you'll be better off with dating somebody that's not as much as a psychopath. And you'll be able to prevent yourself from getting into a situation like what happened at the Mary Piglets over there. You'll be able to prevent that from happening, and you don't have somebody that's constantly in a rage with you all the time. If you were dating somebody that isn't as much of a psychopath and a narcissist, you'll be better off doing that. Or dating somebody that's not a narcissist than dating somebody that is a narcissist. If if you get yourself into situations where you do date a narcissist and that stuff, being you may end up ending up like how Gabby Petito ended up. This is Charles Morris. Have a good day. I'll see you all in the next video.